Damien Bartonek here on behalf of Fox West Texas and the official host of MMA Monday, the only MMA show in San Angelo. Today, I am joined by a very special guest, someone that's going to be fighting for a milli next week. He might buy me something. Who knows? I mean, with that money, he has plenty to spend. But with that being said, my guy, Raufeon Stots. Rafi, how you doing today, my friend?
Man, I'm doing pretty good, man. I can't complain. Yeah, man, I got a big fight coming up, and I'm excited, man. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I would be excited too, especially looking at your pedigree and looking at what you're fighting for. On top of all that, you're already the interim champion, which I personally hate that term, interim. You're a champion.
Yeah.
Whenever Conor won the belt against Chad, he was the champion.
Yeah.
That was Aldo. There's two champions. Same with you. It's you and Pettis right now.
Yeah, exactly.
But for me, man, I am very, very interested in not only your next contest, but I'm really, really fascinated with your career and how it's went, man. I mean, you're a 19-1 fighter. You have fought the who's who of Bellator, the best that Bellator has to offer. You have fought, and I kind of want to start there, man. Throughout your journey, you have a very, very prestigious wrestling career. You're an excellent D2 wrestler. You won gold twice. You did the whole thing. So for you, man, how's this been? How's at 34 years of age? How does it feel?
I feel like everything is coming full circle now. All my hard work, all my dedication is starting to like really pay off. I've always kind of got accolades, and I've kind of like racked up wins and racked up accomplishments. Now it seems like everything is like literally paying off for me and my family for all the hard work and sacrifice and dedication. I'm getting recognized and I'm getting big opportunities because of them.
Yeah, see, the one thing for me that I really enjoy, especially now that I've been training jiu-jitsu now for only about 5 months, but before that I was kickboxing, and I never really appreciated how instrumental grappling in general is to MMA, right? I think that's the best base, and I think you would agree any form of grappling, particularly wrestling or jiu-jitsu, is going to be best for you. Now, yeah. I really like your style of grappling, your style of wrestling, because it's very pressure-based. You can put the pace on people, and I know Usman is one of your mentors, but I'm not going to say you remind me of Colby Covington, but you kind of remind me of him just with the pace, right? With the pace put on people. Where does that come from? Where is that foundation grounded in?
I feel like, you're right. Wrestling is like one of the best bases, just because you can you pretty much dictate where you want the fight to occur. And then my pressure, I think, is I'm just a product of my environment. The people I've been trained under, Rufus Sport, with Duke Rufus, Scott Cushman, they kind of bred that in me. I'm not gonna be the one to back up in a fight, So either you're gonna meet me in the middle or you're gonna get walked down, and that's just how I've approached the game. I feel like it's conducive to my wrestling, and it works well with my wrestling. So that's kind of the way I like to fight. Also, I want to get in there and figure it out, man. Let's get in there and figure it out. You gonna be a punk or you gonna come and fight. So that's.
I was gonna say that's so fascinating, because literally my favorite saying, I don't know if I made it up or someone did, but I say, when you sign up to fight, you effing fight, right? And so whenever I when I'm training jiu-jitsu or I was kickboxing, I take pride in never hurting my partners, my people, but we come to fight. We're gonna fight. My professor, he's so funny. He's from Brazil. And whenever me and him roll, he'll be like, "You want to go 2 6-minute rounds?" Like, he thinks I'm gonna say no, and I'm like, "Let's go." Even if I have no gas tank, let's go. And speaking of jiu-jitsu, man, now I was talking to Laura Sanko about this, and I want your opinion on it. So, I think guys like yourself, Usman, Colby Covington, excellent pressure. You guys find yourself in very favorable positions in the realm of jiu-jitsu where you could get a submission, but I'm going to say you have 4 submissions on your record, and I feel like you have a lot of opportunities for that. So going into this fight and just later in your career, are you going to be looking to kind of find those submission finishes, or is ground and pound more so your philosophy whenever you are wrestling?
I feel like I want to punch somebody into a submission a lot of the times, but so submission is like not the forefront of my attack that I'm looking for. I feel like if he gives me a submission, he gives me a submission. I just kind of like putting damage on people at this point in my career. I don't know if I'm just a problem, or messed up mentally or what, but yeah, I like to inflict damage and then when they present me with submissions, if they present me with submissions, I'll attack the submissions. The other thing is, I don't like the like going for broke on a submission and not getting something out of the exchange. So if I damage him until I get the submission, I'm still winning. I'm still, dominating the grappling. So yeah, that's how I look at it.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I was talking to Laura Sanko about it, and I was asking her, do you think there's a little bit of a disconnect between, wrestling and jiu-jitsu? And she said, yeah, there's definitely a place where they need to intersect. And I was just wondering, from your perspective, man, if that is something that you personally had to deal with, where it is, it's very similar, right? Because position, everyone knows the rule position over submission, right? But I was just wondering, man, if that was ever like an issue for you, kind of as you develop it into a fighter now in your prime.
Yeah, definitely. I think jiu-jitsu and wrestling are two separate sports, and they both have their own set of intricacies. But I would also say that they're two sports that complement each other very well. Or they're the best, I feel like, complement of each other. Like striking and wrestling is pretty good. Jiu-jitsu and wrestling is not as good, but I feel like jiu-jitsu and wrestling are like, twin brothers, I feel like they're very, very alike. So I was able to, I feel like, pick up jiu-jitsu a lot easier because of the body control I've learned from wrestling. And yeah, I really dived in. I mean, I'm a brown belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I really, I practice jiu-jitsu probably 3 times or maybe 4 or 5 times a week. It's something that I'm very passionate about. I'm very serious about. So yeah, but when I first started, it was definitely something that I needed. I know I needed to get better at, because it was like, once I accomplished my goal in wrestling, like that was the start of a jiu-jitsu situation, and I wanted to be comfortable and confident, after I took somebody down.
Absolutely. I only have a couple more for you, but I love that. Like for me too, I just always compare it to steaks. Like some people like sirloin, some people like ribeye, but then you have the porterhouse, which is like both. You know what I mean? And what jiu-jitsu and wrestling is, it's like a little bit of both. A
little bit of both, exactly. That's exactly.
And so for me as well, man, I know you only have one loss in your career, and it is against a bona fide. If he wasn't best friends with Aljamain, he'd be a champion or fighting for the belt. Is that now? I know you're happy with Bellator, so let's get that out of the way. But hypothetically, would you like to get that one back if the opportunity presented itself in Bellator or wherever?
If the opportunity presented itself, of course, I feel like we were both young in my career, and but I also feel like I learned, a lot. Like the reason I'm the champion right now is because of that loss that I had to Merab. I realized some things that I didn't realize before, so. But I would love to have, if I ever get that chance to fight him, I would love that fight. Everybody. I have one other fight that I lost, or one other fighter I lost to as an amateur that I was able to avenge. So Merab would be the only one left for me to avenge. So that would be cool.
Yeah, and it's like I said, I enjoy. It's so funny, the tweets, like the memes when people are like, people love MMA, but they hate when they mix the martial arts or whatever, because people just want to see someone get knocked out or something.
Right.
But I love the pressure that you put on people. Maybe something's wrong with me because I like watching people break. I don't know.
Yeah, that is me, bro. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to break people in there. I want to break their will. And then I want to break their limbs. That's just kind of how I want to do it.
Absolutely, bro. I like I said, I'm not gonna take up too much of your time, but as we kind of wrap it up here, next week can be, in my opinion, if you pick up the victory, I think it could really be huge, not only for your confidence, obviously for your record, but I think going forward, man, once it is time to unify those belts, I think this could be a very good kind of a starting point, a kind of push towards that for you as we kind of enter in this next chapter. of your fighting career, what's the mentality like? What are you thinking? How are you feeling? Just how's everything? How is everything about this next fight?
Yeah, about this next fight, what I'm thinking is I got to go in there and punch this guy and hurt this guy until the ref pulls me off. I'm very excited for this matchup. I feel like this matchup is two of the best bantamweights in the world. You know, we both made it to the finals of this tournament. We both had a lot of things we had to overcome to make it to this point. So I know I'm coming in there with another hungry fighter, and I have to out of there, you know. So that's my mindset right now. And like the prize money is cool, and the accomplishments that I've done before are cool, but I have to be present in that moment, and I have to be ready to kill this guy inside the octagon or inside the ring.
Yeah, you say the same thing in the cage or yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's like I said, this has been really, really fun for me. I love talking to people, especially now that I've been training jiu-jitsu, man, and seeing the intersect between wrestling and that. I've fallen in love with wrestling now, so I try to watch it as much as I can. I grew up watching WWE, so that's a whole.
Oh yeah, me too, bro. Me too. Yeah.
So,
that's what I thought when I first started wrestling. I thought that's what they wanted me to do.
That's funny, brother. But yeah, man, if you have anything else you want to let the fans know, obviously this is gonna drop on Monday, so you have a whole week of media to do, next week and everything like that. But yeah, man, let the fans know.
Yeah, man, make sure you tune in April 22nd. It'll be on Showtime. This is a big one. This is a culmination of a lot of hard work, I want to thank my sponsors, Perfect Sports. I want to thank Recovery U for always helping me and getting me, recovered and ready to go. Cricket and Zero Shoes, all those guys, and Combat Corner. And yeah, man, tune in because I'm ready to punch another hole in this dude's mouth. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, and I want all the viewers, listeners to know, Rafi did say he's gonna buy me something with that $1 million. So I would not mind.
He got it on camera.
But I appreciate you again, my friend. Thank you so much for joining me. But with Fox West Texas and MMA Monday, I'm Damien Bartonek, signing out.